And welcome back to a Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jono, and as always, my co-host, Chris, is here with me as well. We are in the middle of our mock draftathon, or Mockathon as we've calling it, and we are going to be drafting from multiple different positions in different mock drafts to help you prep for your fantasy draft if you have not already done so these upcoming weekends. That being said, hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell so that you get all the drops. So when we get these new mock drafts out to you, you can prep for your fantasy mock draft and have the edge on your leagues this year going into the season. That being said, let's kick it off. This draft here, Chris and I originally drafted from the turns. We're still going to be kind of at the turns. Chris and I are flip-flopping ends. I'm going to be drafting from the 11 spot, and Chris will be drafting from the 2 spot. So let's see what we can do and how crafty we can get, and let us know in the comments who you think did the best and what picks you like the most from each of our teams. So kicking it off, number 1 goes Justin Jefferson, as I did in the first draft. So Chris, what are you going to do here?
I'm going to do what I would have done if I was number 1 and go Christian McCaffrey.
Yep. Not much to talk about after that. Eckler goes 3, which I expected. Then Jamar Chase, Travis Kelce, who at the 5 spot is not a bad place to pick. Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley. And Saquon's the one I was hoping would fall to me at the 10 spot because to me I have him ranked above Bijan. And I've done in my shorts, I've made an argument of why he can be the RB1 overall this season as well. So that being said, at that 11 spot, I want to lock myself into a running back here because I think I don't want to hinge my bets that Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb falls to me because all things considered, Team 12 could take both of them in a row if I skip on those guys. I'm much happier getting Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, or Devontae Adams, even Amon-Ra St. Brown on my second pick. So I'm going to go with Nick Chubb, who I can argue could be the RB1 overall this season too. And there you go, Henry, Diggs. Oh, it's exactly what you did, bud, in the last one. So that fall to me.
I'm a computer.
I'm
Stop
happy.
All the downloading.
I'm happy here to start Nick Chubb, A.J. Brown off in this draft because A.J. Brown is a fantasy stud, and Nick Chubb has the highest floor next to Henry amongst running backs out there. Afterwards, Devontae Adams, Pat Mahomes, first quarterback off the board. Josh Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, St. Brown, Waddle, Andrews, and now Chris at the second round, 211. What are we doing here, bud?
Yeah, this is where I think I'm going to try to boot the wide receiver or the running back position for a little bit, and I'm going to go lock up some guys at wide receiver. And I know Olave is ranked higher. I get it, but T. Higgins is sitting there, and I absolutely love T. Higgins. So I'm going to draft T. Higgins right here.
Well, the beauty of where you were drafting, I was going to say, is you have Allen and Hurts still on the board. So you know one of them will fall to you if you wanted to go QB early. And for those who are watching along with us, if you are a QB early type person, you want one of those guys, Chris was sitting in the prime real estate position to take the receiver or position player he wanted first if he was going to swing in turn and get a quarterback. Not to say that's what you're going to do. But Najee Harris went, and you're still sitting there with Tony Pollard, Jalen Hurts, Stevenson, and Olave.
Right, exactly.
Like, what are you? That's like taking candy from a baby.
Right, so I could have locked up like 3 running backs in a row here. I could have went, Pollard in number 2. Pollard's it's really hard for me. Like I know I've talked a lot about Pollard, but it's really hard for me to take to not take Pollard in the 3rd round, and it's also really hard for me to not take Stevenson in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Then again, I have some receivers that are still available there, and I can go and lock up a receiver and depth there. But
time's up.
Time's up. It gave me Olave, and I'm not mad at it. You know what?
Okay. It's Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, Tony Pollard, Jalen Hurts, DK Metcalf, Breece Hall, Stevenson, Mixon, Samuel. Now back to me here. To me, outside of Allen and Hurts, I'm not jumping up on a quarterback in the first 4 rounds because outside of that, like I know Lamar Jackson could finish, but I don't want to spend a 3rd round pick on a guy that may not end up playing. So here I got to decide, what do I want to do? I like ETN over Jahmyr Gibbs, but I want to lock up a second because I also could get Aaron Jones here, I like a lot, and Calvin Ridley. But I'm going to go with Keenan Allen. Sure hands Allen in the third round. Lock down my second solid receiver here. Lamar Jackson and ETN go. And now I'm sitting here and I want to get a second running back. But I'm also staring at Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper. And if I go with the upside of Ridley here in the fourth round, I start my whole draft off with Chubb, Brown, Allen, Ridley. And I like that much better. I'm going to go with the hero running back strategy here, and I'm going to go Calvin Ridley and lock myself up into 3 solid receivers to start off. Justin Fields goes, Cooper, Walker, Herbert, Burrow, Dameon Pierce, middle of the fourth, TJ Hockenson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Chris getting with the auto pick of Olave, which is not a bad one anyway. What are you doing here in the fourth round to make up for that auto pick?
I'm going to go D-Hop. That's what I'm going to do. I told you I'm going to kind of boot running back for a little bit. I think that there's some guys that I can get further on. Najee Harris goes, and then Terry McLaurin goes. And I'm sitting there with the same running back.
Kamara, then McLaurin.
Kamara goes, and then McLaurin goes. And I'm sitting there with the same running backs there in the fifth round. And this is where I'll probably end up going and grabbing a guy. Aaron Jones is still there, and it's hard for me to pass up on him. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Aaron Jones here.
That would have been my same pick in your position. So both Chris and I were kind of going with the hero RB situation here, not grabbing another running back till the fifth round. I'm in this position to do the same thing, but what I'm going to do is a little bit different here. I myself, a lot of people are high on J.K. Dobbins because of the opportunity you have there. I am not going to be drafting. I haven't been drafting any J.K. Dobbins, especially here in the fifth round. I think there's a running back down a little bit further that has a little bit better value, and I'm going to jump and get him here so that Team 12 doesn't get him, and that's James Conner. I want him as my RB2. The guy's going to get all the volume in the world there, and as you see, Dobbins, Goddard right afterwards. And now this is what I'm going to do a little bit different than I did in the last draft. I punted the tight end position. I don't want to do that in this draft here. I could get some good depth. I could really go get Godwin or Ayuk and really have 4 solid receivers on my team. But I want to go with a guy who has proven that he could be a 1,000-yard receiver in this league, that he's in an offense where he's going to be the number 1 target in his offense. And he proved it yesterday in the first preseason game action that he had. 4 targets, 3 receptions. Should have been 4. He dropped one after a big hit, jarring hit. But 3 receptions, 30 yards. And that's going to be
Darren Waller. Only 2 more of these and he's going to be out.
Yeah, that's going to be Darren Waller. Taking Waller, so I lock up my tight end spot. Chris Godwin, Mike Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, Hollywood Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Dalvin, Pittman, and back to Chris. Chris is still quarterback-less and tight end-less. What are you going to be doing here?
Well, I'm going to go and get the best value receiver, the Nick Chubb of wide receivers, as they would say, in Tyler Lockett.
Yeah. Christian Kirk goes afterwards.
Yep.
DeAndre Swift, and back to you. I like the Lockett pick a lot. He's 6th round value. That's insane to me. Guy's he finishes top 15 almost every year.
You know what? I'm in this, like, I kind of now have gotten to the 7th round, and I don't have a tight end. I don't have a quarterback, and I think at this point in the draft, I'm gonna probably boot them for another couple rounds. And there's a lot of people that I really like. I already have 4 wide receivers. I have 2 running backs. So I'm going to go and get a backup running back here. And I know a lot of people are this is a risky pick because of the injury that he sustained last year, but he's good to go. And even though he might have a slow start to the season, I think he's going to come on and he can help win me a championship later on. So I'm going to go Javonte Williams here.
All right. Javonte. 2 quarterbacks follow you with Watson and Prescott. Rachaad White, Pacheco, Evans, Pickens, Burks, Montgomery. I was hoping Montgomery would fall to me here. I've been drafting him a lot because he's going so late, and that would have been my RB3. Now, that being said, he's not on the board. And sitting here, I may punt the position as well. I mean, looking at the quarterbacks available, I'm looking at Tua. I'm looking at Richardson. I'm looking at Cousins and Rodgers. Most of the teams have quarterbacks here, so people would be selecting their second quarterback. And I feel pretty comfortable, well, at least for this first pick, not going quarterback because the team after me is Lamar Jackson. So that being said, I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson, lock him up as my wide receiver 4. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Addison go afterwards. And then I got to decide. I only have 2 running backs here. Do I want to continue to fade that position and fill it in later on? And do I want to get my quarterback? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and take Tua because I think he's a tier above the people that are right below him. Because, again, like we said in our podcast, if Tua played a full season last year and you extrapolate out what his averages each game were, he would have been a 5,000-yard passer and he would have had about 37 touchdowns. And so if he could replicate what he did and catch lightning in a bottle again, he has a top 5 upside, and I'm getting him in the 8th round. So afterwards, you got Antonio Gibson, James Cook, who I was thinking about there, Evan Ingram, Michael Thomas, Brandon Cook, Charbonnet, Jahan Dotson, and Rashad Penny are gone. We're at the 8-11.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these guys I can still kind of wait on. They're the picks that I like. This is kind of an awkward position because the immediate picks that I like that are at ADP, I don't really like any of them, and I'm not going to go and overdraft any of them. I do have a need at quarterback and I do have a need at tight end, but I'm going to punt both of those, and I'm going to go and get Zay Flowers. I was hoping I got him last draft. And you ended up snagging him a round ahead of me, and I want him. So this is where I think that I really should go quarterback, but there's just a part of me that says no. I know my mind is telling me no.
Well, you're the only team that doesn't have a quarterback on the board. So when you think about it that way, and you're in your drafts, and you're in a similar situation to Chris, you don't have to go quarterback here because it's likely that somebody's going to try and take a chance on Anthony Richardson, and you're still going to get somebody you want later on because they all have a quarterback.
That being said, I know I'm not going to get him in another round, so I'm going to go and get Khalil Herbert. That's a guy I absolutely love, and again, in the 9th round, love it.
Devon A-Chain, Brian Robinson Jr., Kadarius Toney, Quentin Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jamal Williams, Gabe Davis follow up there. So now I'm sitting here. I have all the positions I want. I'm in the 9th round turn. I'm wanting to keep adding value where I can. And again, we talked about I only have 2 running backs, and where can I add the most value at the running back position? And I'm going to try and double up running backs right here. I don't usually like to do that this late because there's so much wide receiver talent out there. But with the 4 guys I have in AJ, Keenan, Ridley, and Deontay, I'm confident in this. So first one off the board, I'm going to go Samaje Perine. I think he's going to have early down work in the season, and he's still going to carve out a role for himself. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a reach here. And that's going to grab Raheem Mostert. This guy is ranked 136th overall here on Sleeper. I think that is way too low for the guy who's going to have the first touches in this offense here. And he showed it in the preseason game yesterday that he went with the first team offense as well. I think he's going to be a stud again this year if he could stay healthy. But that's my running back 4, so I'm happy with that. Bateman, Mitchell, Cousins, Rodgers, taken right before you there. Damian Harris, Dalton Kincaid, Jameson Williams, and Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton was one that I was thinking about at that 10th pick there as well, because I think that's good value.
So I've kind of talked about this, about doing this strategy. I'm gonna do it here. I'm gonna implement it right here. So I'm gonna take Geno Smith right now, in the 10th round, and Schultz is gonna go. Odell Beckham's gonna go, and I'm gonna go and follow that pick up 2 picks later and go and get Jared Goff. So I'm gonna go back-to-back quarterbacks here, and I'm gonna solidify that position for the entire season. So I already had 5 wide receivers. I had 4 running backs at that point. And I've already said I'm fading tight end, so might as well fade tight end.
Well, Alan Lazard goes afterwards. McKinnon, Myers, Komet, Thielen, Okonkwo, Rashi Rice, and Daniel Jones. The one thing I like that Chris did there, too, is now he gets the flip-flop based on matchups. Geno faces the Niners. Maybe he plays Goff. Goff faces a tough defense. He plays Geno. Like, he can play the hot hand, and that's a beautiful thing. And if somebody gets injured, he's got himself a QB1 still and not having to fish the waiver wire because he punted that position. My pick here, I like my tight end. Part of me wants to hinge my bets on that, but I'm not going to do that. I want to add more running back depth because if Connor doesn't pan out, I got P. Ryan and Mostert, guys that are going to be lower volume type of guys at the time. I'm going to go Tank Bigsby and go with the upside of Tank. I don't want him to be taken by the team after me, who went double running back with Algier and Singletary. And now I'm sitting here, 12th round. I'm comfortable with the guys I have here. I'm not loving at ADP who's around me on this list. So I'm going to go ahead, and because I'm playing this as we play in a league that has good positive points on defenses, I'm going to go ahead and grab the top defense that I think is going to be out there this season, and that's going to be the San Francisco 49ers. Playing the Cardinals twice, playing Seattle twice, and playing the Rams twice. I just like the odds of them getting good positive points for me. Afterwards, you got Kendra Miller, Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney, Deontay Foreman, Zeke, Sam Laporta, and Russell Wilson.
So, I did the back-to-back quarterbacks, and I've definitely talked about doing this as well. The guys that are there, I'm going to kind of have to play matchup based, so I might as well go get two of the next. Everyone has some tight ends already. So what I'm going to do is get Gerald Everett. Or I'm going to grab Dulcich here. A kicker goes off the board. Bryce Young goes off the board. And I still have my choice, and I was still going to get Gerald Everett right here. So I'm going to get two tight ends back-to-back. So I went two quarterbacks back-to-back, two tight ends back-to-back. I solidified both those positions. And again, I'm able to do that because I drafted 5 wide receivers and 4 running backs in the first 9 rounds. And so I solidified not only my starters there, but my depth at that position with high-end picks.
Afterwards, Rondell Moore, Jalen Warren, Jonathan Mingo, Romeo Doubs, who I was hoping would fall to me here, Butker, Roshan Johnson, Tucker, and then Higbee. Now, here's the position I'm in here. I have 2 picks in a row before I'm going to go with kicker. I'm going to punt kicker the 15th pick, and I'm 15th round. I'm fine with that. I want to try and take a chance on some of these young guys here. And first off, the fact that DJ Chark is sitting here at 167 overall is terrible. He's going to be he has a chance to be the leading receiver in Carolina. I know everybody wants the young stud Mingo, but I think Chark is going to be the veteran presence that's really going to prove it. He's already had some great catches, so I'm going to go with him here. And then afterwards, I'm sitting and thinking to myself, where can I already took 3 running backs in a row there. I'm going to add another receiver at depth, and I'm going to take a shot on somebody that's on my team here. Had a great touchdown yesterday. Had a bad drop early on. But I think by second half of the season, Jalen Hyatt is going to get himself some big opportunities. He may only have 5 targets in a game, but he catches 3 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. That's what you want from a flex spot. A bunch of kickers go. In fact, 6 with Michael Mayer and Jeff Wilson going as well in the 14th. Down to Chris, who has got his defense and kicker left to pick.
I'm going to go the Jets defense. I'm going to go, he's sitting there. This is the second draft in a row. He's sitting there for me. I'm going kicker the Dicker. Or Dicker the kicker.
Dicker the kicker. And a bunch of 15th round. All the other teams didn't pick defenses. They're all going in a row here. And I'm going to stick with my Giants and go with Graham Gano here as well. So to round out the roster, here I went 111, Nick Chubb, A.J. Brown to follow up. I came back with Keenan Allen and Calvin Ridley. I punted the running back position to the 5th round. I took James Conner, who's got a high floor just based on volume, plus the guy loves the end zone. Darren Waller as my tight end in the 6th round, the last guy in that group of tight ends in the top 5, in my opinion, that I didn't want to miss on this draft. Deontay Johnson, another high volume opportunity. That touchdown should go up. 2 at my quarterback, because this guy's going to finish top 5 this year. And then I rounded out my depth at running back. I went P. Ryan, Mostert, Bigsby. I just need one of those guys to hit to feel comfortable with my running back depth. I took the early 49ers just in a position where I'm based on the draft, our league does have positive points for the defenses that start, so you can score some good points with defenses. And then I snuck in and grabbed a veteran DJ Chark and a rookie Jalen Hyatt to round out my wide receiver depth, and then a kicker to kick it off.
Yeah, the number 2 position, I went Christian McCaffrey on the swing in the 2nd round, T. Higgins. Then I got auto-picked Chris Olave because I talk too much. Story of my life. Then
Well, here's the question. Before you go on the next one, if you didn't get auto-picked with Olave, who would have been your pick?
Tony Pollard or
Okay.
Devonta Smith, the two guys that went right after him. But, I can't get mad at Olave. I really like that pick there. It's those three guys and no one else. Like, I know DK was there, Brees Hall was there, Ramondre was there. I talked about Ramondre, but it really came down to Pollard or Devonta Smith for me. And Olave was the highest ranked player at that time. I'm not mad at Olave, but it would have switched up what I did later by maybe a pick or two. But because of what I did in the first 9 rounds, again, look what it allowed me to do later in the draft. So after Olave went DeAndre Hopkins, then Aaron Jones, Tyler Lockett, Javonte Williams, Zay Flowers, Khalil Herbert. So I'm sitting there in the 9th round. And again, I have 5 wide receivers on my team that are all really good wide receivers. I have 4 running backs on my team. And I have Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be an every week starter. And then all I need is Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, and Khalil Herbert to kind of do matchup plays with them. And Javonte, I already know I'm going to wait a little bit on. So it's really Aaron Jones, Khalil Herbert. Like, one of those two is going to be that second running back position for me. And then solidifying my quarterback position, I go back to back Geno Smith, Jared Goff. And again, I could play matchup based the entire season. I didn't get a high end quarterback, but I don't need to settle. Like, and you don't need to settle for one of these lower end guys. Get 2 of these lower end guys that you feel really confident with. Like, I feel really confident.
You took 2 top 10 finishers last year too. It wasn't just lower end guys.
Exactly. But they fall down, and ideally, I would have loved to get Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins. They get picked a couple picks right before me there, and I would have been comfortable just grabbing one of those guys. But then I missed both of them, and Geno and Goff are sitting right there. As why would I not want to get one of those as my backup? And then rounding out my tight end position, I grabbed Dulcich and Everett. Probably looking back, I probably would have wanted to grab one of the. I would have went a round higher, or 2 rounds higher, and grabbed a tight end. I don't love my tight end position, but outside of the top 4 guys, I don't think I'm ever going to really love my tight end position. I'm happy with those 2. Again, I got 2 of guys that I think are going to finish in the top 20. And it's just a matter of, like, if they hit, if they're having good weeks, if they're involved in the offense, then they're going to be great. And then rounding out, I got one with the Jets defense, and then Dicker the kicker.
I think Everett is a steal too. I don't think people give him enough credit. He was a tight end 13 last year. He was on pace for top 10. And
there are so many injuries, though. There are so many injuries to the receiver position that allowed that to happen. Now, if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson stay healthy,
it allowed that to happen. But we're also got Kellen Moore, who loves throwing, scheming the tight ends too. So right. I think the targets are still going to be there. They're just not going to be there based on need. They're going to be based on scheme, and it's going to open him up more because he's not going to get the top coverages and nickel corners as much. He's going to get linebackers. So right. I like him. It's a sneaky late pick. So I like your team a lot. Well, that rounds out our second draft of the Mockathon here, and we're going to be kicking another one off tomorrow. So be sure to tune in, like and subscribe, hit that notification button so you can see the drop when we take our next one on the board. That being said, like, subscribe, comment what you think about our teams here, who you think won it. We're going to be posting up on Instagram, so go check out our Instagram as well and see and give us a comment on who you think won this mock draft. Thanks for tuning in.